I'm Jillian.
Hi, I'm me.
Hi, I'm me. I'm uh, 40. I'm a mom and a wife. I work full time in a technology company. I work from home mostly, which was relevant for my kind of style crisis. And yeah, that's me. I felt like I'll go into the style story. That's
Yeah,
okay.
this is my first question is where were you before the course? What were some of the things you struggled with?
I'm gonna make this real hard to edit for you.
That's okay. I love it.
Um, I I uh I I work from home most of the time. I go into the office rarely. Um, and I just had a baby 4 years ago. So I feel like those two things combined. Oh, also there was a brief pandemic. Um,
Tiny.
you might not have noticed it.
Yeah.
um, those things all kind of combined to make dressing less at the forefront of my mind. I always liked fashion. I always had fun getting dressed. And then all those things kind of coalesced and like that fell out of rotation. And I thought that it was fine intellectually. I was like, I'm at home. It doesn't really matter. This is practical. Um, Paying so much attention to clothes is frivolous. It's distracting, was like one of my
All
shadow words. And I was like,
shadow
I,
words. Yeah.
I could get more done creatively if I'm not obsessed with clothes and always shopping all the time and looking at clothes. And then one day I like looked in my closet, which was full of nice things, but like it had gotten very minimalist and like
Mhm.
everything was like white and gray. And I was like, whose stuff is this? Because every time I get dressed to go see friends or go somewhere, I was like, I don't have anything that I'm excited about. It all was fine and like good labels, fit, made
Yeah,
of
they're nice
good
quality
materials.
pieces.
Mhm. But I was just like, I feel like a colorful person and nothing I like, there's nothing for me to grab, not even in the back. Like, it had gotten, there's so much stuff on the internet about capsule wardrobes and minimalism. And I feel like I had sort of internalized that. And in the attempt to get like the right closet that would always work, it had gotten small and very neutral, which in its defense is a closet that works.
Yeah.
It just didn't say anything about me. And I never felt like I never felt cherished in any of that stuff. It was just like unassailable almost. No
Yeah.
one could be like, she dresses badly. I was like, no, I dress good. I
Yeah.
dress well. But it, none of it was like, I like, this is your word, but like, feel celebrated in it. I didn't feel celebrated in any of it. I just always felt like if I was thinner, this stuff would look better on me. So it's my fault that this isn't looking 10 out of 10. It's 8 out of 10. And I realized, I don't know, maybe a year ago in my minimalist capsule wardrobe neutral journey, I was like, I am at home all the time. I'm parenting, I'm working, I'm really bored and I'm kind of depressed. And I started looking for like, what can I add into my life that is just for me, that's like pure joy. And I was like, oh, I'll take piano lessons. I was like, that was not pure joy. I was trying to do all these different things. And
Piano's so hard.
it's so hard. I hate practicing.
Right.
Not pure joy. Not pure joy. Um, but I was like, you know what? Clothing and style has always brought me a lot of joy that's been a bigger part of my life. And when I was in the office every day, when I was going to school, like there's a reason to get dressed. And like that had just practically fallen out
Yeah.
of rotation. And so I started, you'll laugh at this, but like, I was like, surely there's a framework
Yeah.
for style.
Mhm.
And so I started looking around. I was like, is there a class I can take? Is there something I can do? And I did find one. This is before I found you.
Right,
But
right,
I
right.
like learned that color analysis existed, learned that style. I was like, I think style can probably be taught. There's got to be something out here that I can learn. That's not just like wear whatever, take a risk. Like
Wear what brings
that's
you
like
joy.
not useful.
Right.
Not, because that's what I was trying to get away from with the capsule wardrobe was just like 1,000 things. I don't know what to do with any of them. And I just keep buying the same thing over and over. I
Yeah.
was like, I want a wardrobe that's feels like me at my pinnacle, like I'm older now. Like I want to look good, but I just didn't know how to put it together.
Yeah.
And so I found a different class that I took, like a self-paced class that I really enjoyed and learned a lot, and started dressing more and learned about color theory and like learned more about body shape and how to dress, to suit my figure better. And like
Mhm.
that was a huge lift. Just having that in my day-to-day life, starting to learn, um, and finding clothing. And so like that was great. And then I was like, oh, I want more. And that was around when I found you on Instagram. And I just loved your reels and how funny you were. And I was like, I had found a couple people that were doing color stuff online, and I've
Yeah.
followed a few people. And then, we actually met in real life, which was a mind-blowingly wild coincidence.
Yeah.
And
Jillian you introduced yourself in the middle of a farmer's market of a place that I never thought I would be in my life. I was in Healdsburg, California at a farmer's market. And this angel stopped me and was like, Alex, I'm like, literally, I'm from Pittsburgh. Who would I know here? That's how our journey started together, which was really fun.
um, yeah, and I at that point I had gone like I had like the first steps of my style journey. Like I think you
Yeah.
probably remember what I was wearing, just like still
I
toned
remember
down, but I
exactly what you were wearing. It was a striped shirt and a really cute A-line skirt. You looked like a little French, like I
that was
want
my
to say
venture
the word
into.
mime, but that's not right.
I'll absolutely take it.
Yeah. Hey, it actually fits. If you guys know Jillian, the more you get to know her, that actually checks out. Sophisticated clown is what we settled on for one of her
100%.
style terms.
And like I couldn't have gotten there without you. Like that was such a nuanced understanding of me. So
Right.
not to skip ahead, but like I feel like when we met and we just started talking a lot, and I learned about the class that you were putting together, um that I knew that that was something that I wanted to do, because you had already um given me so much information and insight, and I was like, she knows a lot. I felt like you understood me, you know what I mean, in a way that obviously like a self-paced class with no interaction could never
Yeah.
do.
Right.
It gave me the step up that I needed to get into the world, but like I knew I could learn a lot from you, because there was there's so much that I wanted to intellectualize about it, and then there's like a lot kind of laying beneath that level that I feel like you were really good at seeing and giving me reflections and insights about your observations, which were like priceless, absolutely priceless. Like I felt like you gave me, you found these like golden threads that were running through my narrative and like the way I wanted to show up, that I would have never found, because you know yourself a little too well. And
Yeah.
like I needed you to be like, well, this seems connected to this, and like I think you're really trying to show up like this. And I was like, ooh, thank you, yes, yeah, totally. And you gave me a lot of permission that I didn't have before, I hadn't given myself.
So I feel like when I met you at the beginning of the course, kind of to recap, like how I saw your journey at the beginning of the course, your inner critic, which is something we delved a lot into, the inner voices that kind of show up in our closet and what actually makes style personal besides just like random style or trends. Your inner critic was so efficient. She was so obsessed with the idea of like winning and accomplishing the goal and making things as efficient as possible, which is why the capsule wardrobe, the minimalism just like appealed to her so much. But what I could tell from first meeting Jillian in person was like, this woman is colorful. She's got something to say. Like, she's creative. Like, I could just tell that immediately. She's artistic. And so I could tell that those other inner voices were just being like kibosh, like they were just being squashed down. And yeah, and that's where most of us started the course, I think, was like our inner critic was in the driver's seat. So
Oh,
next,
totally. Like uh,
it'll
oh,
probably feed into this answer.
okay.
But um, I s- my next question is, what were some of your favorite parts of the course? Like
I'll
either
tell
the
you.
approach
Let
or
me.
specific instances.
Yeah, I want to. I think I had one more comment about the last
Yeah, yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah.
before we go on, which was like, I hadn't realized that the inner critic was like fighting any other voices at all, that there were other people at the table.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like you helped give me the language to understand what about that part was useful, right? And like, there's something about minimalist capsule wardrobe that was like, to me, was like sophisticated
Yeah.
and elegant. And I could take those pieces, but emerge, like into a bigger story that
Yeah.
was way more personal with other influences like color and shape and, like all these other devices that felt more like me. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like to kill it forever, but
No.
like it feels oh, here's what I wanted to say. It was like you don't see that many examples besides, at least where I hang out on Instagram, besides that minimalist neutral capsule wardrobe of
Yeah.
someone looking put together and like yeah, elegant. And like I didn't have anything else to follow because everything besides that that's more personal, you wouldn't see it. It like you have to sort of create it as an
Yeah.
example for yourself.
Yep.
And so I feel like you helped me get the tools to piece together where I was actually aiming for and not settling for the thing that was like in front of me and like, well, this is recognizable, this is achievable. Just buy these striped t-shirts and solid color sweaters and you'll be done.
There were a lot of stripes hanging out in your closet.
And when I'd go shopping, all I'd buy was more striped t-shirts. I'm like,
Yep.
this is useful.
You're like, oh, I think I need a pattern. Stripes are
I
good.
love stripes.
I love stripes. And as part Gamine, she's incredible in stripes, guys. She really does.
But like there's so much more out there and
Oh
there's so
my
many
God.
actually better patterns for
Yeah.
me. And now I understand why stripes is good, but it's not the end all be all of everything. And now I feel like my eyes are open to so much more of the landscape of what's available. And now I can spot a pattern and be like, me, this one's me.
That's
This
Jillian.
one will look great on me.
That's Jillian. So what were, I mean, that was part of your answer, I'm assuming, but what were some of your favorite parts of being in the course?
My favorite part, and the part I tell everybody about, is in the beginning when we had discussed the different voices and influences. And then I love that we spent so much time before we ever went shopping looking in our own closets of the stuff we had, because behind everything hanging in my closet is a story about
Mhm.
why I bought it or why I kept it, what I thought it would do for me. And
Yeah.
you really helped us find out which parts of us were responsible for which of the things that we own.
Who
That
bought this?
was that was so useful because otherwise you just end up in this dreamland where you're like, I'm going to buy a brand new perfect wardrobe and forget who I ever was. That was all a mistake. But it's like, no, it's a rich treasure trove of data is like really what it is. Where
That's
you're like,
such a good term for it. It is though. It's
it
history.
really was.
Us. It's
So I'm
ourselves.
like, the same person who bought all these will go shopping and buy the next stuff, which will be exactly like this stuff, unless we interrogate it and say, like, what was behind this? What are
Yeah.
the thoughts and decisions and assumptions that were behind these purchases being in my closet? Because they didn't get there by accident. Even stuff that was hand me downs didn't get there by accident. I thought, oh, well, this will be useful for this. Like you
Kept it,
realize you're
right. Like there's a reason you kept it. So yeah, each voice is really responsible and you really find out like which ones are kind of running the show and which ones are like, am I allowed to have another pattern besides a stripe? Like anybody else feeling a little bored in here?
and and as we were thinking of like learning more about the voices, I felt like I was seeing these flashbacks of stuff I'd owned
Oh my
previously and
goodness.
that my
You
inner
have so
critic had
many good
gotten
pictures too.
rid of. Inner critic said, this is way too colorful and glittery, get rid. And like she KonMari'd so much of my best stuff because I didn't know how to wear it. I
Right.
didn't know how to make it be part of a normal wardrobe, like a everyday usable wardrobe. She
Right.
was just like, this isn't you. We're gonna wear stripes now.
We are streamlined. We wear
We're
solid
streamlined.
stripes and that's it.
Totally. And so it's like at the same time as I was like grieving that I lost all these awesome things over the years, I was also feeling very like hopeful, like a reuniting with myself where I'm like, I can find stuff like this again, but this time I'll know what to do with it. And I know that it has a place in my wardrobe instead of feeling like it was always like this split personality of like streamlined and elegant. And then like have this weird clown stuff get in here. Let's fix that. But then it would creep in again. Get rid of it. And now I feel like I understand how those stories can like live in harmony. And that feels like a huge, huge gift.
Thank you. You were such a huge gift in the course, which leads into my next question. What did you think about learning your style in a community like we did with the two other gals?
Oh, amazing. Amazing. And I knew it would be. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to join, which was like sometimes you don't have the self awareness to see yourself unless you're compared with other people, if
Yeah,
that makes
like
sense.
objectively, yeah. It's really hard
Where
to see yourself
I
as like
could see the
another.
things, I could see the things that made me unique and my style unique once I compared them against these two, also awesome, also stylish, but different from me people, to be like, oh yeah, that look would look great on this person. And because it looks so good on her, I see why it never worked for me. Like you can see the difference. And like, especially for the, when we were learning about body architecture and shape, getting to look at myself, you, our two other women
Well,
in the cohort,
Angelica, yeah, like we're
to
all
be like
very different looking.
all very different looking. And it really helped me understand the concept versus if I had just looked at my own body and tried to make sense of it. Like it just gave me more material to learn from.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard without that context of other people. I never felt one thing I was really relieved about because I wasn't sure, you guys are my first style cohort. I wasn't sure how it was going to translate, but I never wanted the comparison factor to feel judgmental. But it felt so validating and objective to just be like, oh, yeah, her eyebrows are way more curved and hers are so much more angular. That makes so much sense as to why angular patterns work really well for her and rounded patterns work really well for her. Like we had specific, like we were just shapes. We weren't like, oh my God, this person's this weight and that person's this height and this one's
Well,
better. Never
I
got
think
that.
when you have one way of dressing and then you're comparing bodies, one body type or shape or whatever naturally looks best is best
Right.
celebrated by that one style. But when we're learning about all styles, all cuts of garments, all textures, all shapes, everything, all colors, like it's fine to be the shape and makeup that you are when you, the instructor, are so good at matching us with the things that would celebrate us and make us feel great. Like, I think that's, give yourself a little bit more credit that like that's why it felt so good to just compare and be objective and say apples, oranges. Apples are great with cinnamon, oranges taste great with whatever, mint, you know, like
Right.
great.
I'm like, wait, what tastes good with orange? I don't know anymore.
Chocolate, not mint.
Not a chocolate lover, so I never would have come up with that, but I have heard that they go well nicely together. But yeah,
But
I
like
love
it was, it felt like we had a, like a cornucopia, like a treasure trove of different style items and options. And you were just there to help us like see the pieces we may have ignored because they're not as like mainstream visible or available.
yeah.
And like I now compared to when I first started the course, like I feel so much more equipped to know what suits me shape wise. And I feel like my self-esteem has gotten higher, my self-worth because about my body, because I'm like, oh, I know how to dress it. And it's not about hiding your flaws or anything like that, or camouflaging or flattering.
Yeah.
It's just about like suitability. Like these shapes look great on me. I feel awesome. I don't feel like I have flaws. I'm just like, I look great. And my body's exactly the same as it was at the beginning.
Yes.
I'm just
And
not wearing clothes that are fighting against my body anymore.
it's such a nice like surrender to like give up the you're like, "Oh, wait, the pieces of cloth that I put on my body do not hold the power in this relationship. I hold the power. I'm the
But
one
I
that
think
gets to
it's,
choose."
but until you have the knowledge of what to choose and from what, it's really hard to feel that way because I feel
Yeah.
like there's stuff that we get shown that like the base, like the 4 online shops that I just click around over and over. And they all sell the same stuff. And like almost none of that stuff was like great for me. Some of it was fine. And that was a step. That's how my closet became like plain denim, white shirts, and black jackets. Because
Yeah.
that was the best I could find from the 4 places I knew to shop at. And now it's like my eyes are open. I'm looking for totally different. I know what I'm looking for, and I can go venture further afield to find it because I
Yeah.
know once I have it, I feel really good. It's like, oh no, you can find and buy and wear whatever you want. And you might just cross off these stores. These 4 stores just are not for me. And
Yeah.
now I know why. I have language to say why, right? Like, no ill will on Madewell. Madewell is great, but all their clothes are in like autumn colors and they're
Yeah.
like natural styles. I'm like, there's no me there. So no wonder I never find anything there that I like. Great.
Right. But in the catalog sense, you're like, yeah, I could vibe with some of that stuff.
It's cute. I like it.
Yeah, it is. I go in there still and I'm like, you know me, Miss Romantic Classic. Like, what am I getting at Madewell? But every once in a while, you gotta like, okay, what's happening in
It's fun to look, but now I know, like, I feel like I got like new glasses where I'm like, oh, it's so much clearer now why this stuff felt hard and it wasn't my fault or like my body or like I need a tan or something. It's just like, no, it's just not made for you.
Yeah.
Great. It's made for this person and everything in the store is going to look great on these people over here.
Yep.
And they didn't try harder. It's just how it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did cover a lot of this, but what did you learn about your style?
Um, I feel like I learned how, I'm gonna say this backwards and then we'll wind our way to a
Okay.
sentence. Like there was certain stuff that I would wear for certain occasions that I knew I felt amazing in,
Okay.
like a puff sleeve, sweetheart neck, boot, cupcake party dress. And I'm like, I look
Amazing.
awesome in this. I
Yes.
look awesome. But that, and then for every day, Monday through Friday, I'd wear a white t-shirt and jeans and a black sweater, right? Like I looked fine, not
Yeah.
celebrated, not amazing. And so I feel like I intuitively knew what kind of outfits felt amazing on me, but I couldn't square that with my actual life,
Right. It was like
if that
special
makes sense.
occasions were very different from like life. Yeah.
And so I feel like, whatever the question, oh, what did I learn about my style? I
Yeah.
feel like I learned how to draw those influences into all the different things I actually do most of the days of the year. There's still some I'm still working on, but I have
Oh,
a
yeah.
map of how to get there. Um, and that is huge because I knew what I looked good in, but I didn't have language or reasoning of why it was working. And so I didn't have the ability to kind of deconstruct it and then reconstruct it in other ways that would also work for other parts of my life. And so I feel like you gave me a lot of courage to pull in some of those shapes and colors and be a little bolder and more visible, um, than I might have ordinarily tried to be in my day to day, and like learning how to show up as me all the different times and places, even when I would normally be like, oh, it's just athleisure. I'll just wear black leggings and a black tank top, like, oh, it's just going on a hike. I'll just wear whatever, like, no, you get to be you. And here, like, you helped give me ideas of how to translate that like core essence into all the spokes of the wheel. You know what I mean? Instead of like, well, I know how to dress for a party and everything else is just, it's
Well,
not me.
right.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what some of your style vocabulary, particularly the 2 phrases that we used all the time when it came to your style?
Oh my God, you might have to remind me, but the one that's jumping in my mind is the eccentric landlady,
Yes.
which was
I think the word disco was also inserted.
disco landlady. Yeah, the
Disco
disco
landlady.
landlady was definitely present in my dressing up wardrobe and nowhere to be found in my day to day wardrobe. And I capturing that essence as this character who was a character from like a TV show that I like put as my, my avatar of this idea helped me realize that like, oh, this has been an influence like all through my life, but
Forever.
she only came out on Saturday night once a year for New Year's or
Party.
whatever. Yeah, totally. But as a working mom, work from home, like she was not showing up very often. And so I think you helped me name her and then like notice her in different places and get to like pull her out like, oh, she could be part of my sunglasses or part of my wide leg pants or part of whatever, and how to blend that with all the other stuff in my wardrobe in a way that was cohesive, but still felt very original and like unique to me.
What was the other one we had? Sophisticated clown.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
love that word. That phrase is so good.
I
What?
mean,
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say I might need you to just full blown stand up so people can actually understand how amazing your style is. This is Jillian at work. And like just seeing the transformation, if I can brag for a second, watching the transformation of your work selfies, because she would take work selfies of her outfits at the bathroom. And the bathroom is super cute at your co-working space, by the way. I'm like, this is a perfect background for her. But they got progressively, like I could see the permission and the courage happening to be like, yeah, I'm going to show up to work like this, even though no one else is doing this. And you could see that it got slowly and slowly way more comfortable and easy. And then you weren't thinking about it. That's just how you dress. Duh, it's a Tuesday. I'm going to the co-working space. This is what I'm going to wear. Like there was no apologizing or no doubt or no guilt or no whatever associated with it anymore. It was just like you could see how quickly you were just embracing it and being like, yeah, this is my style and it feels so good and it looks so good. I love the polka dots.
right when I saw these, like because of the work we've done together, I was like, these will not look good on too many people, but I know they'll look good on me. Come to mama,
You're like,
right?
these are mine. No,
These are mine. And they're so stupid and they're so perfect and I love them. And like they're the sophisticated clown, right? They're just like giant scale polka dots, but it's like you can't see, but it's like a really nice silk with like a pressed crease and a cuff. And
yeah,
like they're like trousers.
they
And
are
I'm like,
trousers.
this is exactly. And I knew enough to be like,
And a clown
mhm,
at the same time.
mhm. Um, and I just feel like you really helped me uh bloom into the things that were already inside, right? I feel like some people might be, I don't know, scared about a style course or a style endeavor that's like someone's going to push them to like be bold and dress like a clown or whatever. But it's like, no, I really already was a clown
Yeah.
and you helped
You're
pull
like,
that out.
that was me.
For other people that were in the course or other people I'm sure you've worked with, like the end result is somewhere really different that also feels them.
Yep. I mean, you can speak to that too, even from Angelica and Rochelle. Like, yes, all three of you had gamine in your style, but all three of you show up so differently and wear your style so differently. So it was really cool to watch these three transformations that were like so huge in their own rights. It wasn't like everybody dressed like you in the end, or everybody dressed like Angelica, or even me. I think that's probably some people's fear of working with a stylist is like, she's going to try and get me to dress like her. But my approach has always been like, how can I? No, it's personal style. Like, how am I dressing you? I want to know about
Well,
you.
I think that's what makes you so good at what you do is like you have the frameworks that are universal and you can teach them and everyone can use them to their own ends. It's like here's the same raw ingredients. But like you said, like all three of us had gamine in our archetypes and like because we had so much else going on, it spun the gamine idea three different ways. Whereas if you're reading style blogs, they'll give you one gamine.
Yep.
Look, here's what it looks like and take it or leave it. And you just have to dress like this, even if you don't want to wear
Yeah, I feel
whatever
like restrictive,
mini skirts and sweater vests. Yeah,
right?
exactly. And maybe you do, and that's great. Or maybe you want to bring in other elements of like Rochelle had her like kind of teen punk element, and like I don't really have that, but I have this clown disco landlady stuff, or like, and it's like creating fiction, like you're just inventing, but it all feels like very resonant. It's coming from your internal stories. I have to go plug my thing in.
Okay.
Um, but that's where everyone ends up at a very different place,
Yeah.
because that's the evidence that it is very personal and customized. And like I couldn't have done what we did on my own. It's not possible. Like I couldn't have gotten there.
I think that's why the community aspect was so cool for me, because I adore working one-on-one with people, and I still felt like there was a lot of one-on-one time in community, even within the course. But I think it was so cool to have this element of like people doing the same thing as you at the same time, who understand what journey, what struggles, what like blocks you're coming up against. They get it because they're with you. It was a really cool part to be in community. So I have two more questions. Um, what do you feel like you learned about yourself? So not so much the style lens, but what do you feel like you learned about Jillian?
It was really interesting because like a lot of the voices that we talked about are like so internal. They're abstract, they're faceless, but seeing them reflected in the clothes that I owned and what I chose to wear gave a physical manifestation
Mm,
of those different parts of me. So like seeing what my inner critic had picked out, right? I'm like, oh, this is telling me something about how I'm talking to myself because she's
yeah,
dressing me. Um, and so I think I learned a lot about those voices or the different aspects of myself, because I had a physical way to look at them where I didn't have before, besides like journaling. And I'm like, am I making this up?
right.
But when you look in your closet, you're like, oh, 80% of this is striped t-shirts. I didn't make that up. That
No,
was real.
yeah,
And so it gave me a way in to do a lot of deeper work in terms of how I was treating myself, talking to myself. When you're thinking about what I'm allowed to wear and not allowed to wear, that's like a manifestation of those voices and how I feel about myself. And so it was a really interesting tool for self-development work, really, because
yeah.
you have the breadcrumbs of what your inner life is like, and they're all hanging in your closet.
Yeah, you can see how how that self-expression is actually manifesting. It was really helpful to me to kind of give a face or like an actual image to each one of the voices so that when I'm having those internal dialogues or conflict is happening internally, I'm like, who's talking right now? I can pinpoint it so much faster and give that voice what they need or what they're asking for, even if it's just in what I'm wearing for the day. It's like, hey, I hear you. We're going to make this feel safe. Let's wear something that feels really good for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
I
cool.
loved your language of like who's online right now,
Yeah.
and like if you're feeling some kind of way, you can like connect it to that aspect of you, and then reach out and like touch that part, like you're saying, like through what you choose to wear.
So my last question is, where do you find yourself now after the course? What kinds of things are in your future or have changed because of the course, and what kinds of things have you taken with you?
Oh my gosh, it's like so hard to even
I know that's a
pull
very
apart
question,
who I like. I'm like, no, now I'm this, and I've always been this. Like,
right?
no,
It's so integrated now though, which is cool.
it's so integrated. It's so
Wow.
integrated. Um, I feel like for me, the clothing and the work that we did together was a way to get back in touch with older parts of myself
Mm,
that had gotten pushed down and suppressed in an effort to be a presentable and respectable human adult woman.
yeah,
And it was it was time to revisit those parts, to be like, I'm established, I'm safe, I can take care of myself. You can come back to the party now.
yeah,
And like rejoining with those aspects that had very few outlets. Like going to Burning Man was like when the disco and the clowning could come out, and like after that it was away. And it's not that I'm dressing in those clothes to work,
right.
but there's little pieces I take with me and can integrate where I'm like, I'm that person now at work. I'm that person at the playground. Like it's still me. And the work I'm still doing is like, I would say like finishing, or not finishing, you're never done, but like, oh, even that is like you're helping me with my inner critic voice. Because
Yeah.
like you told me at the beginning, like, oh, my inner critic wants to finish it and have it be perfect and done. And you're like, it's never done. You're always playing here and like it's ongoing. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'll take that.
You're like, but my inner critic is still like, where's the finish line? Because I'm gonna get there.
How do I win?
Right.
How do I win personal style,
I'm
please?
gonna
Thank
need to
you.
win this. Where's my trophy?
Yeah, I need the A plus. Thank you. But yeah, I think it's keeping keeping pace, continuing to like work in harmony with the inner critic who is very good at organizing and being reasonable to be like, great, but on the weekends, you don't dress like you're going to work, but you still deserve to have stuff that feels good. Maybe it is worth it to invest in a t-shirt, even though it does not what, like
Right.
that work is helping me continue to be in conversation with myself about taking good care of myself and like allowing that those different aspects to shine through in all the different things that I'm doing, not just like the the, the dream vision of like what I wish I was doing all the time. Not that I wish I was working, but like I feel like the work wardrobe is like kind of on lockdown. I've got a good sense of it, and the play wardrobe is like, I don't know. Do we just wear jeans? Like you could do better, but like still figuring out what that is.
And what kinds of things, because I know, I know because we talk all the time. You have very exciting news because you're doing your first something that I want you to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. I part of the what was so wonderful about the course and all this work is like it reminded me how much joy style and clothes bring to me, and that like shopping vintage is part of my kind of archetype, and like it's the Gamine energy of like the hunt and like the
I'm gonna
I don't
find
know. And so yeah, I signed up kind of on a whim to sell at a sell vintage at a craft market. And it was like kind of on my bucket list for the year, but I was like, maybe at the end of the year I'll do it. And this opportunity came up and I applied and thought I would get rejected. So I was like, I have no experience. I've never done this before. And they were like, that would be great. You should come. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to be a vintage seller for my first time ever. And I'm curating my little rack. And yeah, I'm really, really excited. And it feels very aligned. And like, this is what many more of my voices want to be doing. Like, it feels like everyone's kind of online. Like each person has a little different job.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
inner child's like,
absolutely.
make it fun. Like
Right.
the inner critic, like my Gamine inner critic is like, let's get tags and write everything down. And how are we going to have our organization? Higher self is like, oh, I can't wait to help people look awesome and bring that like good positive energy. Um,
And your
and
inner
inner
teen
teen
is
is like,
like
what are we wearing?
fashion show everywhere. Let's make everybody fashion show. Your inner teen is such a baller. I want to be friends with her.
I'm just
Um,
glad she's back,
yeah, I think it's so cool to watch you guys create space for your dreams to actually be realistic and a possibility, not just something like, oh, I wish. It's not that I wish that's in the background forever and ever that you just wait on. Like it was really cool to watch the universe or whatever you believe in kind of be like, hi, you did a lot of really great work and you cleared a lot of space out to like be able to do this. Here's the opportunity. You asked for it, here it is. And it just
Well,
even cooler that you were like, this is terrifying. I've never done it before, but I'm gonna fucking do it. And you're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing your first vintage market. It's so cool. It's so much fun to watch. Your passion just
oh,
explode
thank
everywhere.
you. Thank you. And yeah, it feels like from the work that we did together, like getting to know those different aspects of myself that were more had been repressed a little bit. Now that they're all kind of online and playing together, I'm seeing opportunities differently because I'm like, ooh, this looks like a great one for all of us.
Yeah.
Instead
Like,
of
hey,
like,
is everybody online for this one? Because I think this
yeah,
is
you got 4 RSVPs to this.
good, right. We're all saying yes. That's when you know
Totally.
it's a good one, when they're just all saying like, yeah, this is good.
I just feel like through the clothing work, I have more access to all those different parts of me for life stuff, which is a huge gift. Also great outfits, but
I
more
mean,
more
also I look
deeply,
at those things, but like who's talking about that? Nobody. Oh, Jillian, you're the freaking best. And I can't wait to continue working with you. We have some really exciting stuff in our future together. There's going to be some training going on and lots of new doors and opportunities for both of us coming up. So it's
I'm
truly,
so excited.
it was so kismet that we met. And like looking back, I'm just like, how crazy is that this all started at a farmer's market on a Saturday morning.
Well, it all started with you showing up and being yourself and letting us into your world and your, everything that you were so recognizable to me. I was like, that's her. There's no way that's not
I
her.
did. It was I think you commented on the color palette. You were like, there's nobody else that I know that would do that. That's gotta be her.
Yeah, no, it was very intentional. And like you had talked about it before, and I was like, I this is not an accident. There's just one person who would dress exactly like this with all these different influences.
I'm so happy you came up and said something that we connected so well. Oh, it was amazing to have you in the course. It's going to be amazing to keep watching our relationship like explode with goodness and
I'm so
awesome.
excited. Yeah, it was kismet, and I just feel like that was such a pivotal moment. But like sliding doors, like, oh, we're going this way now. For now, like for from now on, this is the path.
Yep. Like you could have not said hi and we wouldn't be here. I don't even know if I would have done the course. Like truly, you were so
Really?
inspirational making that happen.
Oh,
Seriously. I was like, I have been thinking about doing this and I was just terrified to do it because I thought there was only one way to do it and it was the mass marketing to like coaching 200 people at a time and I'm like that sounds literally awful. So I'm beyond blessed that you were part of my first cohort and that the three of you just were like it couldn't have been more perfect. So thank you for that.
that's awesome. Yeah, couldn't have been better. Agree.
All right, and we'll stop the court